They know who you are. You need to leave right now.
Her hand trembled as she set down the wine glass, the folded paper hidden beneath the embroidered napkin. One glance could save his life. One glance could end hers. The crystal chandeliers of Bellissimo cast amber shadows across tables draped in ivory silk, each one a small island of wealth in a sea of polished marble. Elena Rossi moved through the dining room like a ghost, present but unseen, her black uniform pressed sharp enough to cut, her blonde hair swept into a flawless bun that took 20 minutes each evening to perfect. She'd learned early in this job that invisibility was survival. Table 7 needed more wine. Table 12 wanted their check. Table 4, the corner booth shrouded in deliberate shadow, wanted nothing except to be left alone unless summoned. Elena had worked at Bellissimo for 8 months, and in that time, she'd mastered the art of selective blindness. She didn't see the briefcases that exchanged hands. She didn't hear the conversations conducted in low Italian, each word weighted with implications she refused to understand. She didn't acknowledge the men in expensive suits, whose eyes followed her with predatory interest, before dismissing her as beneath their notice. She was 32 years old, tired down to her bones, and fighting a war she was losing one hospital bill at a time. Her daughter, Sofia, was 6. Leukemia didn't care about payment plans or single mothers working double shifts. The treatments were experimental, expensive, and necessary. Elena had sold everything: her mother's jewelry, her car, her small apartment downtown, and still the debt grew like a living thing, consuming every dollar before she could catch her breath. Bellissimo paid well. The clientele tipped better, especially when they'd had enough wine to feel magnanimous about the invisible woman refilling their glasses. She didn't ask questions about where the money came from. She couldn't afford to. Tonight, the restaurant hummed with its usual dangerous elegance. Businessmen who weren't quite businessmen. Conversations that stopped when she approached. The kitchen staff who'd learned long ago not to gossip about the patrons, or risk finding themselves unemployed, or worse. Dante Moretti occupied table 4. He always occupied table 4 every Friday at 8 o'clock, positioned where he could see both entrances and the kitchen door. Elena had studied him the way prey studies predators, cataloging details that might mean survival. Mid-40s, she guessed. Dark hair touched with silver at the temples, expensive suits tailored to conceal the gun she'd glimpsed once when his jacket shifted. Eyes like winter, gray and merciless when they swept the room. He never smiled, never raised his voice, didn't need to. Men twice his size straightened when he entered. The owner, Mr. Castellano, personally greeted him with the deference reserved for royalty or ruin. The staff moved around him with careful precision, understanding, without being told, that mistakes at table 4 carried consequences. Marco stood behind him always. The bodyguard was younger, perhaps 30, with the build of someone who'd learned violence young and perfected it professionally. Handsome in a brutal way, with dark eyes that tracked everything. He never sat, never ate. His right hand never strayed far from the gun beneath his jacket. For 8 months, Elena had served Dante Moretti his Friday dinners. Risotto ai funghi, perfectly prepared. A single glass of Barolo, never refilled. Espresso, black. She set down each course without meeting his eyes, collected empty plates without speaking, and pretended not to exist. He'd never spoken directly to her. Never acknowledged her presence beyond the barest nod when she approached. She was furniture to him, useful, unremarkable, instantly forgettable. That was about to change. Have you ever faced a moment where staying silent felt safer, but speaking up was the right thing to do? What would you risk to save a stranger's life? Elena balanced the tray against her hip, moving toward table 4 with practiced grace. The restaurant's dinner service had reached its peak, 40 tables filled with conversation and conspiracy, the kitchen shouting orders in rapid Italian, the sommelier navigating between tables with bottles that cost more than Elena made in a month. No one was watching her. They never did. She'd been in the kitchen 20 minutes ago, returning a barely touched plate of ossobuco that table 9 had rejected. The walk-in refrigerator door had been cracked open, someone's carelessness, and she ducked inside to grab lemon wedges for the bar. That's when she heard Marco's voice. The bodyguard stood outside in the service corridor, phone pressed to his ear, voice low but urgent. Elena froze behind the refrigerator door, praying he wouldn't notice the light spilling from the crack she'd left open. "Tonight," Marco said. "Yes, I'm sure." "He trusts me completely. The car is already positioned. Alley exit, 9:45. He'll never see it coming." Silence as he listened. "The money transfers tomorrow, $500,000 like we agreed. Dante Moretti dies tonight, and the Santoro family takes the territory. Simple." Elena's heart had hammered so hard she thought her ribs might crack. She'd pressed herself against the metal shelving, surrounded by hanging prosciutto and wheels of parmesan, barely breathing. "No witnesses," Marco continued. "I'll handle Castellano later. The staff knows nothing. Just another restaurant where bad things happen." He'd laughed then, cold, satisfied, and ended the call. Elena had waited 5 full minutes before emerging, her hands shaking so violently she'd dropped an entire tray of glassware. Another waitress had helped her clean it up, assuming nerves, never suspecting that Elena had just overheard a murder plot. Now she moved through the dining room with that knowledge burning behind her sternum like swallowed glass. Every step toward table 4 felt like walking toward a cliff edge. Stay quiet. It's not your problem. You have Sofia to think about. But the image of Marco's hand on his gun kept playing in her mind. The casual way he'd discussed murder. $500,000. 9:45. Less than an hour from now. Dante Moretti was a criminal. She knew that. Whatever he'd done to earn Marco's betrayal, he'd probably earned it twice over through his own sins. The world wouldn't mourn one less Mafia boss. But Elena had watched her daughter suffer through chemotherapy. She'd held Sofia's small hand through procedures that left her screaming. She'd learned that no one deserved to die without fighting for their life, without at least knowing death was coming. She reached table 4, set down the wine bottle with steady hands that betrayed none of her terror. Poured exactly 2 fingers of Barolo into Dante's glass, the way he preferred. Marco stood 3 feet away, hand resting casually near his weapon, eyes scanning the restaurant with professional vigilance, protecting the man he planned to murder. Elena's hand moved to the folded napkin on her tray, the one she'd written on in the staff bathroom with shaking hands, using the pen she kept for taking orders. "Your bodyguard betrayed you. Tonight, your life pays the debt." 9:45, alley exit, run, simple, direct, possibly suicide. She set the napkin beside Dante's plate, her movements smooth and unremarkable. Just another piece of table service, nothing to see. His hand moved toward it, then stopped. His gray eyes lifted to her face for the first time in 8 months, actually seeing her, really looking, and Elena felt the weight of that gaze like a physical force. She met his eyes for just a second, nodded once, barely perceptible. Then she turned and walked away, her legs trembling, her pulse thundering in her ears, knowing that she'd just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Behind her, she heard the whisper of paper unfolding. The game had begun. Dante's fingers stilled on the note, the restaurant noise, clinking silverware, murmured conversations, the soft jazz bleeding from hidden speakers, seemed to recede into a distant hum. He read the words once, twice. His expression didn't change, but Elena watched from across the room as something shifted behind those winter gray eyes. Recognition, calculation, and something that might have been fear, buried so deep most people would miss it. Marco leaned forward slightly, his instinct sharp. "Boss? Everything okay?" Dante folded the note with deliberate care, slipping it into his jacket pocket as if it were merely a dinner receipt. When he looked up at Marco, his face was a mask of casual indifference. "Fine. The wine is excellent tonight." But his hand moved to his phone, fingers moving across the screen with practiced efficiency. To anyone watching, he was simply checking messages. Elena knew better. She'd seen the way his jaw tightened, the way his posture shifted from relaxed to coiled. He believed her. Or at least, he believed enough. Elena moved through her section on autopilot, refilling water glasses, delivering entrees, smiling at customers who didn't see her face. But every nerve in her body was attuned to table 4, where a man was processing the revelation that his most trusted guardian planned to kill him in 47 minutes. Dante took a sip of wine, utterly calm. "Marco, I need you to do something for me." "Anything, boss. Call Vincent. Tell him to bring the car around to the front entrance instead of the alley. I'm not feeling well. I want to leave early." Marco's expression flickered, just for a heartbeat, and Elena saw it from 15 feet away. Surprise, confusion, then careful neutrality. "The front? I know what we always do." Dante's voice carried the weight of unquestioned authority. "Tonight we're changing the routine." "Make the call." Elena's breath caught. She watched Marco's hand move toward his phone, watched him step away from the table into the corridor near the bathrooms, the same corridor where he'd made the previous call, where he'd sealed Dante's death warrant. How many seconds would it take him to realize the plan was compromised? How long before he adjusted, adapted, struck anyway? Dante's eyes found Elena across the restaurant. He didn't beckon her, didn't gesture, but somehow she felt the summons like a hook in her chest. She crossed to his table, her serving tray clutched like a shield. "You're either very brave or very stupid," Dante said softly when she approached. His voice was cultured, measured, the voice of a man who'd learned to weaponize courtesy. "Which is it?" Elena's throat was dry. "I'm a mother who can't afford to ignore what she hears. What you heard could get you killed. What I heard will get you killed if I say nothing." She met his gaze, surprised by her own steadiness. "I don't know what kind of man you are, Mr. Moretti. I don't want to know. But nobody deserves to die without a fighting chance." Something flickered across his face. Respect, maybe, or recognition of a courage he hadn't expected to find in someone who served his wine. "Your name?" "Elena. Elena Rossi." "Elena." He tested the name like he was memorizing it. "When this is over, you and I are going to have a conversation about what happens to people who involve themselves in my business." It wasn't a threat, or rather it was, but not the kind she'd expected. There was promise underneath it, protection or punishment, she couldn't tell which. Marco returned, his face carefully neutral. "Vincent will be out front in 10 minutes. "Good." Dante stood, buttoning his jacket with unhurried precision. Every movement was controlled, giving nothing away. "Let's settle the bill." But his hand moved to the small of his back, and Elena saw him check his weapon, a gesture so subtle she would have missed it if she weren't watching for it. He was preparing for war while pretending to prepare for dinner's end. Marco's eyes swept the restaurant, and for just a moment, they landed on Elena. Recognition sparked there, not of her face, but of the equation he'd just solved, the pieces clicking into place. The way Dante had changed plans immediately after she'd approached the table. The note she'd delivered, his expression hardened. Elena felt ice flood her veins. She'd saved Dante's life. But she'd just painted a target on her own back. Elena! Dante's voice cut through her panic. He held out a black credit card between two fingers. Process this at the bar. Then I need you to do exactly as I tell you. She took the card with trembling fingers. What? Take your purse from your locker. Leave through the kitchen exit. Turn left, walk 2 blocks to the parking garage on Madison. 3rd floor, Section C, black Mercedes. Wait inside. Doors will be unlocked. I don't understand. You just became a witness to conspiracy to commit murder. Dante's gray eyes held hers with uncomfortable intensity. Marco knows you warned me. That means you're a liability. To him and whoever hired him. If you go home tonight, you won't see tomorrow. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. My daughter. Where is she? Children's Hospital. St. Vincent's. Leukemia treatment. She's staying overnight for observation. Dante pulled out his phone again, fingers flying. I'm sending someone to secure her room. No one goes in or out except hospital staff I've vetted. She'll be safe. He paused. But only if you're smart enough to survive the next hour. Are you smart, Elena? She thought of Sofia's face, pale against hospital pillows, her daughter's smile when Elena visited each morning before work, the way Sofia still believed her mother could fix anything. Yes, Elena whispered. I'm smart. Then run, now, don't look back. Marco was moving toward them, his expression pleasant but his eyes calculating. Measuring distances, assessing threats. Elena turned and walked toward the bar, her legs somehow steady despite the adrenaline screaming through her system. She processed the credit card with shaking hands, printed the receipt, brought it back to table 4. Dante signed it without looking, adding a tip that made her breath catch. $5,000 on a $200 meal. For Sofia, he said quietly, and for your courage. Then louder, for Marco's benefit. Thank you for the excellent service. Elena nodded, mute, and turned away. She walked through the dining room, past the kitchen doors, her mind screaming at her to run, but her body maintaining the careful, unremarkable pace of a waitress finishing her shift. In the staff room, she grabbed her purse from the locker, her coat, her phone. Through the narrow window, she could see the alley behind the restaurant, the same alley where Marco had planned Dante's execution. A dark sedan idled there, engine running, windows tinted black. The assassination vehicle, already in position. Elena's hands fumbled with her coat buttons. She pushed through the kitchen exit, turning left as Dante had instructed, her heels clicking against pavement that suddenly felt like a tightrope over an abyss. Behind her, back in Bellissimo's elegant dining room, Dante Moretti prepared to face the man who'd sold his life for $500,000. And somewhere in the shadows, other players in this deadly game were realizing their careful plans were unraveling. The night was just beginning. The parking garage smelled of oil and concrete, each level illuminated by flickering fluorescent lights that cast everything in sickly yellow. Elena's footsteps echoed as she climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, her breath coming in shallow gasps that had nothing to do with physical exertion. Section C, black Mercedes. She found it parked in the corner, facing the exit ramp, a position chosen by someone who always anticipated the need for a quick escape. The doors unlocked with a soft click as she approached. Some kind of remote system Dante must have activated. Elena slid into the back seat and locked the doors, her hands still trembling. The interior smelled of leather and expensive cologne, a world away from her 15-year-old Honda with its cracked dashboard and perpetual check engine light that she couldn't afford to fix. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Sofia is secure. 2 of my men are outside her room. Hospital staff have been told you're dealing with a family emergency. She's asking for you. Elena's chest tightened. She typed back with shaking fingers. Is she scared? They told her you're coming soon. She believes them. Kids are resilient. Another message followed immediately. Stay in the car. Vincent will come for you when it's safe. Don't call anyone. Don't go anywhere. Your life depends on following instructions. Elena clutched the phone like a lifeline, staring at the words. 20 minutes ago, she'd been serving wine and counting tips. Now she was hiding in a mobster's car while her daughter lay protected by armed criminals because Elena had made the choice to save a man she didn't know. What have I done? But she knew. She'd done the right thing, the dangerous thing. Sometimes they were the same. Back at Bellissimo, Dante moved through the restaurant's front entrance with Marco at his shoulder, every step measured and deliberate. The dinner crowd had thinned, late-night stragglers finishing dessert, couples lingering over espresso. Vincent stood beside the black town car at the curb, exactly as summoned. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the expressionless face of someone who'd seen too much to be surprised by anything. He'd been with Dante for 12 years, longer than Marco, more loyal than Marco, apparently. Boss? Vincent opened the rear door. Dante paused on the sidewalk, turning to Marco with casual interest. Actually, I need to speak with Castellano about next week's reservation. Marco, why don't you wait in the car? This won't take long. Marco's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I should stay with you. I'm walking 15 feet into a restaurant I own a third of, surrounded by witnesses and security cameras. Dante's smile didn't reach his eyes. I think I can manage. Get in the car. It wasn't a request. Marco's hand flexed near his weapon, a tell Dante had never noticed before, or perhaps had never bothered to look for. How long had Marco been planning this? Weeks? Months? How many dinners had they shared while Marco smiled and plotted murder? The bodyguard climbed into the town car's back seat, his movements stiff. Vincent closed the door behind him with a decisive click. Dante leaned close to Vincent, voice barely a whisper. He's armed, he's dangerous. And he thinks he's smarter than both of us. Don't prove him right. Vincent's expression didn't change, but his hand moved to his jacket. Understood. I need him alive long enough to tell me who's paying him. After that, Dante shrugged. Use your judgment. He turned and walked back into Bellissimo, leaving Vincent to handle the viper he'd been stupid enough to trust with his life. Inside, Dante pulled out his phone and dialed. It was answered on the first ring. Antonio, it's Dante. I need you to pull surveillance footage from the restaurant, specifically the service corridor near the kitchen. Tonight, approximately 8:15. I want to know who Marco talked to on his phone. He paused, listening. No, Marco won't be a problem much longer. But whoever hired him needs to understand what happens when you come for me. And miss. His voice dropped to something cold and final. I want names, Antonio, all of them, by midnight. He ended the call and stood in the restaurant's foyer, watching through the window as Vincent and Marco sat in the town car, separated by 3 feet and a lifetime of betrayed trust. His phone buzzed. Antonio, already working, got the footage. Marco called a blocked number. But the cell tower triangulation puts it somewhere in the Santoro territory. You were right about them making a move. Dante's hands clenched into fists. The Santoros. Of course. They'd been pushing on his territory for months, testing boundaries, probing for weakness. And they'd found it in Marco's ambition and greed. $500,000. That's what his life was worth to them. That's what Marco had accepted to betray 12 years of loyalty. Another message. What do you want me to do about the waitress? Dante stared at those words for a long moment. Elena Rossi, single mother, hospital bills, working double shifts to save a dying daughter. She could have stayed silent. Should have stayed silent. Self-preservation would have demanded it. Instead, she'd risked everything to warn a stranger. He typed back, "Keep her safe, and find out everything about her daughter's medical situation. I want the best oncologist in the state reviewing that case by morning." Boss, that's an order, Antonio. He pocketed the phone and walked to the bar, where Castellano was pouring grappa for late-night regulars. The owner looked up, reading something in Dante's expression that made his weathered face go carefully neutral. "Mr. Moretti, can I get you something?" "Information. You have a waitress named Elena. How long has she worked here?" 8 months, maybe 9. Good worker, never late, keeps her head down. Castellano paused. "She in some kind of trouble?" "The opposite. She just saved my life." Dante leaned against the bar, his voice quiet enough that only Castellano could hear. "Which means she's made enemies tonight. I'm going to need you to tell anyone who asks that she quit. Family emergency, moved out of state, no forwarding information." Castellano's eyes widened. "Dante, what?" "Better you don't know the details. Just make her disappear from your employment records. Tonight. Can you do that?" "Of course, whatever you need." The owner hesitated. "She's a good person, that one. Has a sick kid she's killing herself to save. I hope whatever happened, she comes out okay." "She will." Dante straightened, his tone absolute. "I'll make sure of it." In the town car, Marco sat very still as Vincent pulled away from the curb. The driver's eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror, watching, assessing. "Taking the long way tonight," Vincent said casually. "Boss wants to make sure we're not followed." Marco's hand inched toward his weapon. "Since when do we take precautions leaving Bellissimo?" "Since tonight." Vincent turned onto a side street, away from their usual route, away from the alley where the assassination team waited. Boss has been paranoid lately, thinks someone might be making moves on his territory. "Paranoid?" Marco repeated. His phone buzzed in his pocket, probably the hit team, wondering where their target was, wondering why the plan had changed. "Yeah, maybe he's right to be." Vincent met his eyes in the mirror. "Maybe he is." The car turned into an industrial area, warehouses and loading docks, everything closed for the night. Empty, isolated. Marco's hand closed around his gun. "This isn't the way to his house." "No," Vincent agreed. "It's not." The car stopped in the middle of an empty lot surrounded by nothing but shadows and chain-link fence. Vincent put it in park and turned around, his own weapon already drawn and pointed at Marco's chest, with the casual efficiency of someone who'd done this before. Hands where I can see them, slow. Marco's face twisted with rage and desperation. "You're making a mistake. Dante's losing his grip. Everyone sees it. The Santoros are offering a better deal, better protection. I tried to do this clean, but if you force my hand..." The waitress told him. Vincent's voice was flat. "About your little phone call. About the 9:45 hit in the alley. About everything." Marco went pale. "That bitch. She's nobody. She doesn't..." She's the reason you're still breathing long enough to have this conversation. Vincent's finger tightened on the trigger. Now, you're going to tell me exactly who you've been talking to in the Santoro family. Names, numbers, meeting locations, everything. And if you're smart, you'll do it quickly, because Dante wants this information and he's not patient when people try to kill him. Marco's jaw clenched. I want a deal, witness protection. I'll give you everything, but I walk away. You stopped having negotiating power when you sold out the man who trusted you. Vincent's expression was carved from stone. Now talk, or I start making this hurt. In the distance, sirens wailed. Some other emergency, some other tragedy playing out in the city's darkness. Marco stared at the gun pointed at his chest and made the calculation every traitor eventually faces. Loyalty was expensive. Survival was negotiable. He started talking. When trust is shattered, can it ever truly be rebuilt? What would you do if you discovered your closest ally had betrayed you? Elena sat in the Mercedes, watching the parking garage's shadows stretch and shift under the flickering lights. Her phone showed 10:47 p.m. Sofia would be asleep by now, tucked into her hospital bed, unaware that her mother's world had exploded into violence and conspiracy. Another message arrived. Vincent has Marco. Interrogation in progress. You're clear for now. Sit tight. Clear for now. The words offered no comfort. Elena had worked enough years in Bellissimo to understand what interrogation meant when men like Dante used the word. Marco would talk. Marco would give up whoever had hired him. And then Marco would disappear in the way people disappeared when they crossed the wrong lines in this city. She should feel horrified. Maybe she would later, when the adrenaline faded and reality set in. Right now, she just felt tired. Her phone rang. A real call this time, not a text. Unknown number, again. She answered with a trembling whisper. Hello? Elena, it's Dante. His voice was surprisingly gentle, not the cold, authoritative tone he used in the restaurant. Something more human underneath it. Are you okay? He asked. The question surprised her. I'm alive. That counts for something. It counts for everything. A pause. Vincent is handling Marco. By morning, the people who hired him will wish they'd never learned my name. You don't need to worry about retaliation. I'm sitting in your car hiding from assassins because I overheard a murder plot. Elena's voice cracked. I think worry is a reasonable response. Fair point. She heard something that might have been a smile in his voice. You have every right to be terrified. But I need you to hold on a little longer. Can you do that? Do I have a choice? There's always a choice. You made one tonight when you decided to warn me instead of staying silent. That took remarkable courage. His tone shifted, becoming more serious. I don't forget debts, Elena, especially ones that involve my life. Whatever you need, for you, for your daughter, consider it done. Elena closed her eyes, Sofia's face filling her mind. She's sick. Really sick. The treatments aren't working well enough, and the experimental trial costs more than I'll make in 5 years. I'm drowning, and I can't save her, and I don't know what to do. Silence on the other end. Then, what's her doctor's name? Dr. Palmer at St. Vincent's Children's Hospital. By tomorrow morning, Elena, your daughter will have the best pediatric oncologist in the country reviewing her case. Whatever treatment she needs, experimental, traditional, doesn't matter. It's covered. All of it. And the debt you've already accumulated? Gone. Paid in full. Her breath caught. You can't. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. You saved my life. Your daughter gets to keep her mother because you were brave enough to do the right thing. That's worth more than money. His voice dropped lower. I'm not a good man, Elena. I've done things that would give you nightmares. But I pay my debts, and I protect the people who protect me. That's you now, whether you like it or not. Tears burned in her eyes. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're not out of this mess, but we will be. Soon. The call ended. Elena sat in the darkness, holding her phone, unable to process the surreal turn her life had taken. This morning she'd been desperate. Tonight she'd saved a Mafia boss. And somehow, impossibly, that desperate gamble might save her daughter's life. Outside the Mercedes, footsteps approached. Elena's heart jumped into her throat until she saw the man, tall, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes. Vincent. He opened the driver's door and slid behind the wheel. Time to go. Where? Safe house. Dante's orders. You'll stay there until the situation resolves. He started the engine, pulling out of the parking space with smooth efficiency. Your daughter's being moved to a private room with round-the-clock security. Nobody gets near her without clearance. Elena wiped at her eyes. Is Marco talking? And when he's done talking, he won't be a problem anymore. Vincent's expression was unreadable in the rearview mirror. You did good tonight. A lot of people would have looked the other way. I couldn't. The words came out as a whisper. I couldn't just let someone die when I could stop it. That's why you're still alive. Vincent turned onto the highway, merging into sparse late-night traffic. Boss respects courage, rewards it too. You'll be okay, Elena. So will your kid. She leaned back against the leather seat, exhaustion crashing over her like a wave. Somewhere behind them, Marco was giving up the names of everyone who'd plotted Dante's death. Somewhere ahead, her daughter slept peacefully, unaware that everything had changed. And somewhere in between those 2 points, Elena Rossi, invisible waitress, desperate mother, unlikely hero, tried to believe that maybe, just maybe, courage actually could change everything. The safe house penthouse gleamed with cold luxury. Elena paced the marble floors, phone clutched in her trembling hand. At 1:47 a.m., Dante called. Marco talked. The Santoros ordered the hit. They want my territory. But there's a problem. They know about you. They're coming tonight. Elena's breath caught. Sofia. Protected. 8 men at the hospital, but they're not after her. His voice hardened. They want you, as leverage. I need to end this tonight, Elena. I need you to trust me one more time. You want to use me as bait. They've tracked your phone. They think you're alone. When they come, they'll find me instead. He paused. I won't let them hurt you, but this is the only way to keep you both safe. Permanently. Elena thought of Sofia's courage through every painful treatment. If her daughter could be brave, so could she. Okay, what do I do? 20 minutes later, Dante arrived with 5 armed men. They positioned themselves throughout the penthouse, behind counters, in closets, flanking doorways. Professional, silent, deadly. Dante checked his weapon beside her. They'll breach through the service entrance, disable cameras, expect you alone. His gray eyes met hers. Bathroom, lock the door, get in the tub. Whatever happens, stay down. Dante, go, now. Elena ran. In the bathroom, she locked herself in the marble sanctuary and climbed into the bathtub. Knees pulled to chest. The elevator hummed. Her pulse thundered. A key card beeped. The door whispered open. Clear the apartment. Take the girl alive. Then Dante's voice, calm as death. Gentlemen, you're expected. Gunfire erupted, sharp cracks that made Elena cover her ears. Shouting, bodies hitting floors, controlled bursts from multiple positions, 30 seconds of orchestrated violence. Then silence. Check them. Get Antonio on the phone. The Santoros need to understand what happens when they come for what's mine. A knock. Elena, it's over. The door unlocked. Dante entered, holstering his weapon, suit marred with dust. He crouched beside the tub. You're safe. They're gone. His expression was granite. 2 survivors will deliver my message. By morning, the Santoros will know that touching you or Sofia means death. There won't be a second attempt. Elena looked at him. Killer, protector, man of contradictions. Thank you. Come on, Vincent's bringing the car. Let's get you to Sofia. St. Vincent's Hospital at 3:24 a.m. was quiet. Dante's men stood watch at subtle distances. He stopped at the elevator. I'll wait here. Go see your daughter. Elena found Sofia awake in her room, small and pale, but alive. Mama, you came! She held her daughter close, breathing her in. Real, safe. A nurse appeared. Ms. Rossi, a Boston specialist, reviewed Sofia's case tonight. There's a new experimental treatment. Excellent results. Fully funded by an anonymous donor. You won't owe anything. Elena's tears came freely. When does it start? Tomorrow morning. Downstairs, Dante waited. His phone buzzed. The Santoros had surrendered. Peace negotiated. Territory disputes resolved. He pocketed the phone and settled in to wait. Dawn was breaking. A new day. A second chance. For both of them. 3 months later, Elena stood in Sofia's hospital room, watching her daughter laugh, a sound she'd feared she might never hear again. The experimental treatment was working. Sofia's color had returned, her energy rebuilding day by day. The doctors used words like remarkable progress and cautiously optimistic. Elena used words like miracle. Dr. Chen, the Boston specialist Dante had flown in, reviewed Sofia's charts with a smile. Her numbers are excellent. If this continues, we're looking at remission within 6 months. She's a fighter, your daughter. She gets it from her mother, a voice said from the doorway. Dante stood there in an impeccable charcoal suit, holding a stuffed unicorn that was nearly as big as Sofia. He'd visited every week since that night. Always respectful, never intrusive, checking on Sofia's progress like a guardian angel in expensive Italian shoes. Sofia's face lit up. Mr. Dante, is that for me? Who else would it be for? He presented the unicorn with mock solemnity. Sofia squealed with delight, hugging it fiercely. Dr. Chen excused herself, leaving them alone. Dante approached Elena, his expression softer than she'd ever seen it at Bellissimo. She looks good, really good. Because of you, Elena's voice caught. The treatment, the doctors, the fact that I can be here every day instead of working triple shifts. All of it. I don't know how to repay that. You already did. You saved my life, Elena. Everything else is just me keeping my word. He paused. Actually, I came to discuss something, a job offer. Elena blinked. A job? My legitimate businesses need management. I own 3 restaurants, 2 hotels, a security consulting firm. All legal, all clean. I need someone I can trust, someone with integrity, courage, and excellent instincts. His gray eyes held hers. Someone exactly like you. The pay is substantial. Health insurance covers everything, and the hours are flexible. So, you can be with Sofia whenever she needs you. Tears blurred her vision. Dante, I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll stop working yourself to death and let someone help you for once. His voice gentled. You deserve this, Elena. Both of you do. Sofia piped up from her bed, cuddling the unicorn. Mama, say yes. Then Mr. Dante can visit us all the time. Elena laughed through her tears, looking between her daughter and the impossible man who'd kept every promise. The criminal who'd proven more honorable than most honest men she'd known. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. Dante's rare smile transformed his face. Good, you start Monday, but first, he pulled an envelope from his jacket. 2 tickets to that princess show Sofia mentioned. Tomorrow afternoon. Thought maybe we could all go, if you're willing. Elena took the envelope, her heart impossibly full. 3 months ago, she'd been drowning. Now she stood on solid ground, her daughter healing, her future secure. All because she'd chosen courage over silence. We'd love to, she said. Sofia cheered. Dante's smile widened, and Elena Rossi, former waitress, current survivor, forever mother, realized that sometimes the most dangerous choice becomes the greatest gift. Outside the window, the city stretched toward the horizon, full of darkness and light, danger and hope, endings and beginnings. They'd found their beginning, together. Sometimes one moment of courage can change everything. What would you risk to save a stranger? Have you ever made a choice that terrified you but changed your life for the better? Share your story in the comments below. Your courage might inspire someone else to be brave.